America's Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines are some of the quietest, stealthiest submarines in the world. The Ohio submarines represent America's ace in the hole, megatons of nuclear firepower quietly patrolling the world's oceans, ensuring that any nuclear attack on the United States will not go unpunished. In addition to the 14 ballistic missile submarines, 4 have been converted to missile carriers, capable of unleashing more than 150 conventionally armed cruise missiles against the most heavily defended of targets. The Ohio-class submarines were the result of early 1970s requirement for a larger missile submarine capable of carrying the next generation, and beyond, of submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Submarine-launched missiles were growing longer and wider, due to the demand that they carry multiple-warhead reentry vehicles while maintaining and even extending their range. The U.S. Navy's older submarines of the George Washington and Ethan Allen classes were physically unable to accommodate the newer Poseidon and the projected Trident series of missiles. The Ohio class was initially meant to be a simple upgrade of the Lafayette-class submarines, but the Navy was anxious to include advances in nuclear propulsion quieting learned from the USS Narwhal submarine and its natural circulation technology reactor, the S-5G, and ultimately decided in favor of a clean-sheet submarine design. The submarines were designed to be 560 feet long, with a beam of 42 feet able to accommodate 2 rows of 12 Trident C4, later D5, missiles each. The hulls were constructed of high-80 steel for strength. The submarine displaces 18,750 tons submerged, and has an operating speed in excess of 20 knots. The Ohio boats pack 24 Trident C4 missiles, each with a range of 4,600 miles and carrying 8 100-kiloton warheads. This was a marked improvement over the earlier Poseidon missile, which had a range of just 2,876 miles. While a Poseidon could easily hit Moscow from the Norwegian Sea, more distant targets in central Russia and Soviet Central Asia were out of reach. The C-4 allowed the Ohio class to strike the same area from as far as the mid-Atlantic, or the entire western half of the USSR if operating east of Iceland. Altogether, each submarine boasted a total of 19.2 megatons in nuclear weapons. In 1990, the Ohio-class submarines began transitioning to a new missile, Trident D5, that is still in service today. D5 is a larger, heavier missile that carried 8 warheads of 100 or 475 kilotons each, and has a maximum effective range of 7,456 miles. This considerable range upgrade makes it possible for a submarine equipped with Trident D5 to strike any point in the former Soviet Union while tied up at the submarine base of Kings Bay, Georgia. Depending on the warhead configuration, each Ohio submarine armed with D5s went to sea with a total of 19.2 to 91.2 megatons. Each fleet ballistic missile submarine spends an estimated 66% of its time at sea, with 2 sets of crews, blue and gold, alternately manning the boat. Patrols last for 70 days, with a 25-day handover period in port between crews, meaning an average crew will spend 70 days at sea and 95 days on shore. A major 12-month overhaul is undertaken every 9 years. Since the end of the Cold War, a number of changes have come about to the missile submarine fleet. Under the terms of the START II Treaty, the number of nuclear-armed submarines was reduced from 18 to 40. The 2010 new START Treaty limited the number of Trident D5s deployed at any one time to 240 missiles. To comply with this, 4 missile launch tubes per submarine are removed, reducing each submarine to 20 missiles each. Under new START, each missile has an average of 3 to 6 warheads each. Arms control experts Hans Christensen and Robert S. Norris estimate the United States has between 4 and 5 submarines on hard alert at any one time, capable of responding to a surprise nuclear attack, with another to undergoing overhauls. One of the least obvious but more important upgrades to the D5 in recent years is the advent of the superfuse that allows them to attack hardened targets, including communication sites and missile silos. Although this ability to hand off counter-force targets to the submarine fleet is meant to make a smaller nuclear force more credible, some experts believe it making such a difficult-to-detect weapon so deadly is inherently destabilizing. The 4 Ohio-class submarines removed from fleet ballistic missile submarine duty still had 10 to 15 years worth of service left in them. Rather than dispose of the hulls, the Navy found a radical solution: convert each to a guided missile submarine, or SSGN. Each submarine had its ballistic missile tubes reworked to carry up to 7 Tomahawk cruise missiles, for a total of 154 missiles per submarine. A single sub can strike up to 154 targets with a 1-ton warhead at ranges of nearly 1,000 miles, a valuable capability in conventional conflict against countries like Iran, North Korea, or even Russia or China. The guided missile variants represent a potent kick-down-the-door capability, striking enemy command and control and air defense assets before friendly manned aircraft come within range.